Putin sends a clear message to the US regarding troop deployment in Ukraine. He claims Russia is prepared to use nuclear weapons and boasts of having a superior arsenal compared to America. Before we fall into the main warning shot, please use some time to like this video and hit the subscribe button. This announcement coincides with a recent U.S. intelligence report that highlights Russia's struggles on the battlefield, which might encourage Putin to follow through on his threats. In Moscow, Russian troops release a video purporting to show the destruction of 3 Ukrainian combat helicopters using cluster munitions. Although CNN cannot independently verify the video's authenticity, it aligns with Putin's previous warning to the U.S. against sending troops to support Ukraine. Putin asserts that American troops on Russian or Ukrainian territory will be viewed as interventionists and treated accordingly. Furthermore, Putin claims Russia's nuclear capabilities outweigh those of the U.S., and he is prepared to use atomic weapons on land, in the air, and at sea. He stresses Russia's constant combat readiness and the superiority of their nuclear triad. Meanwhile, Ukraine reports targeting Russian oil refineries, including strikes on facilities near Moscow, using long-distance drones. Putin considers these attacks as interference in Russia's presidential election and expects to win by a landslide. Following the death and burial of opposition leader Alexei Navalny, Navalny supporters accused the Kremlin of escalating crackdowns. Leonid Volkov, former head of Navalny's anti-corruption foundation, is assaulted and beaten with a hammer outside his home in Lithuania. While the Kremlin has not yet responded to the incident, Volkov blames Putin and describes him as a classic gangster. Lithuanian intelligence believes the attack on Volkov was organized by Russia to disrupt undemocratic elections in Lithuania and create panic in the Baltic states, key NATO allies. In an interview, Democratic Congressman Jim Himes discusses the nuclear threats made by Putin, citing the latest U.S. intelligence assessment. Himes expresses less concern about Putin crossing the line and using nuclear weapons, as it is believed that Putin would only resort to such measures if his personal and regime survival were at stake. Himes notes that Macron's recent suggestion of NATO troops on the ground may have influenced Putin's rhetoric. Regarding Russia's upcoming presidential election, Himes agrees with Navalny's wife, Yulia, that the election's legitimacy should not be recognized by the U.S. due to Putin's violations of international law. Himes emphasizes the importance of passing a congressional supplemental package to support Ukraine in its fight against Russian aggression. Up to the point where they began running out of ammunition was our responsibility, not the Ukrainians. The incident involving Alexei Navalny's former chief of staff, who was struck by a hammer outside his home in Lithuania, raises questions about the perpetrator. While I don't want to jump to conclusions without evidence, it's hard to ignore the possibility that he was targeted. The attack could have had more serious consequences, and we have seen similar instances in the past. Moving on, I'd like to discuss 2 other topics. First, the recent vote on TikTok, which resulted in a bipartisan decision to ban the app unless it separates from its Chinese parent company. Although I'm uncertain about the significance of this move, I understand the concerns regarding national security. Second, I voted against the ban, mainly due to the hasty nature of the legislation and the potential First Amendment implications. While I acknowledge the risks, I believe we need to find a balance between security and protecting freedom of expression. Regarding Elon Musk's influence over whose voice is heard and amplified, we live in a world with diverse media outlets, each with its own bias. It's up to us, as citizens, to be critical consumers of media and make informed choices. Dismissing the ability of the American public to make their own decisions would undermine our democracy. Thank you for watching. Before you go, please leave your thoughts in the comments section, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates.